So this is the concept that is very important. Let's revise one more time. When we use a primitive type, the values of initializing int I store into a physical memory. But when you do the object type, you only store the reference to the class template. That when you create a circle, call the default constructor radius is equal to 1. Only store the reference. Now, when you do assignment operators like I equals to j, before I is 1, j is 2. When you say I equals to j, pretty much the values of j is going to replace 1. So now I is equals to 2. Which, if we happen to change the values of j to 3, I is still 2. Now the difference is when you do assigning an object type. So you said C1 equals to C2. C1 radius is 5. C2 radius is 9. And they're pointing to its own class template with different radius, because radius is not static. Now, when you do assigning operator, you only assign a reference. So the reference of C1 changed to point to C2. Now, C1 has the template of C2, which has radius equals to 9. Now we change the radius of C2 to 10, then C1 should have the radius to 10 too, because it's pointing to the same class template. So that's the difference between using primitive type and object type. Primitive type stored by values, but object type stored by reference. When updated changes to the reference, it will reflect to both. But for the values, when you update one, it will not reflect the other. So what's garbage collection? So in the previous figure here, you see when we say C1 equals to C2, so we pretty much just remove the reference of C1 to point to original C1 class template. At this point, this is going to be cleaned up by JVM, and this is called garbage. So JVM is going to do garbage collection. So this object is known as garbage, right? Garbage is automatically collected by JVM. Just assign the new values to it. That is empty and be able to free the memory to use again. The question is, what is JVM? JVM stands for Java Virtual Machine. So how do we get JVM? When you install JRE and JDK, right? They come with JVM. So application that running Java require Java application running under JVM, which requires to install JRE on your computer machine. You can review that concept in Chapter 1. So if you know that an object is no longer needed, you can also explicitly assign null to a reference variable for the object. Okay, in the old time programming like C, C++, you have to manually explicitly assign a null value to them, to the objects that no longer used. Otherwise, the program will be slow or crash because of the memory issue. But for JVM in Java, will automatically collect the space if the object is not referenced by any variable. Now, this is an example of date class. Date class is part of the Java library under java.util.date. You can use the date to create an instance for the current date and time from the system current date and time. And you can use toString to return the date and time as a string. So we have, this is a UML diagram for the date. We have date constructor. We have date constructor that you can pass along to set up the time. So the elapsed time since January 1st, 1970. This is Great Mountain Time, GMT. We can do toString. We can get time. It returns the number of milliseconds since January 1st, 1970. Set the time. Can pass it along to set the time. Let's look at example of how to use date. Instantiate an object date. Now you see that if you don't import a package, you can also include in the package name in front of your class. Like in scanner, you can do java.util.scanner and keyboard equals new java.util.scanner too. And sometimes when you do this, because there are two classes happen to be the same name, it's possible the class has to be the same name, and then you need to distinguish them by the package name in front. For example, if I want to use date, I can start to import, right? java.util.date. That's one way, and then just say date. Date equals to new date. But when you type date, I want you to notice one thing. You see that 2 dates, 3 dates, 4 dates. There are 4 of them, and they are from different packages. So if I want to refer to this date for SQL package, then I need to make including the package name in front. You know, to distinguish between the java.util date and java.sql date. So SQL is for the database. This is date for the database. Alright, so that's how we use this. Now when you do date.toString, like if we use the java.util date, it should give you the current date and time of the system by default constructor. So if I just do print date, so it should return the current date and time, which is July 13, 2016, 12 o'clock and 24 minutes. And 26 seconds, Eastern Standard Time. Another type of class we have random class. So we know that when we want to get a random number, we can actually access the method of method class named random. Random is going to return the number between 0.0 and 1, exclusive oneself. Besides using that, you can also using random class. Random class has the method constructor random, which this object uses the current time as its seed, like to create. Or you can use specify the long to seed the random, initialize the values of that. So we also have next int if you want to make a randomly generated integers values. And you can specify the range of the int that is generated between 0 and the n, which is n is exclusive. Like in random.math.random, you can only get 0.0 to 1.0 between, right? And in order to, it returns double. In order to get an integer, you have to pretty much just multiply or divide to get some values range. But when you use random, you don't have to worry about it. You can just use .nextInt. always get the integer, or double always get the random double back. Or float get random float back. Long get random long back. And even Boolean get true or false randomly back. To use this, pretty much just do the same. Instantiate the object or random1 reference to random class template. And random class is being created for you already from the library. So we're going to use 3 as a seed. Print out randomly generated numbers, integers between 0 excluding 1000, 0 to 1000, 10 numbers. So that's the output. We can do the same with the different objects. So random 2, do the same, generate 1000 numbers between 0 and 1000. No, 10 numbers, but number values between 0 and 1000, excluding 1000s. Another class is Point2D. Point2D is a part of the JavaFX geometry package. This is for representing a point in a two-dimensional plane. Like two-dimensional. So that means point X and Y constructor is going to create. And you can do the distance to find the distance between those 2 points. You can use the method distance and pass in the point cell, and point cell should contain those 2 points. You can get point X, get point Y, or do toString. So let's look at the example of the program. So this program prompts the users to enter X and Y coordinates for the first point and second points. And then it's pretty much just call Point2D and import from JavaFX geometry .point2D package. And we have 2 instances, P1 and P2. And they get X1 and Y1 and X2 and Y2 points. And just call toString. It's going to return X1 and X2 point. If we run that, we'll see the result. Where I prompt the user to enter. The user enter 2 points, X1, Y1, X2, Y2. When you call point2, when you call the print P1.toString, we get point P1 out and point P2 out in the coordinates format X1, Y1, X2, Y2. We can do .distance to get the distance between these 2 points. And we can see the midpoint of these 2 points by calling P1.midpoint and pass P2 and return to a string of midpoint. So that's Point2D. Instance variables and methods. So instance variables, it is the like Point2D, point1. Point1 is the instance variables. It belongs to a specific instance. Instance methods are invoked by an instance of the class. Right, so like we just see Point2D. So these are instance P1 instance variables, P2 instance variables. And the instance method is like .distance, right? .midpoint. So those are the instance method. So it's invoked by an instance of the class. Now we have the concept we call static variables, constants, and methods. So we learned instance variables. There is a static variables. They are shared by all the instance of the class. So we're going to talk about this in detail in the next videos.